Right.
Hey, this one isn't on.
Oh, yes, sorry, I'm just doing
So,
this.
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 p.m. Wednesday, March 20th. I will call the meeting of the commission to order. Geraldine, would you like to recognize anything?
I would like to recognize the fact that this meeting takes place in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship of 1725. We are all treaty people and as such a responsibility to each other and to this land.
Thank you very much, Geraldine. Public forum is the first item on the agenda. We have two very handsome gentlemen from our health center. Laura, would you like to introduce them?
Well, let's start with the handsomest. His name's Shatner here. He is a member of our board and a very involved community member and volunteers a lot for the Red Cross. And then Roger Bowers, our new executive director, and he moved with his wife from NWP?
Yukon.
Yeah.
From where?
Yukon.
Yukon, pardon me, I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
The hair warmer here.
For us, it's all up north for us. And he's been doing fabulous work and really reaching out in the community, and it's he's doing a great job.
wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome.
gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Well, firstly, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. Nate and I thought we should come down and first of all, his personal thank you for your consideration with the bylaw for the tax exemption with the nonprofit. So we really appreciate that we were on the consideration for that. And then we also wanted to give you folks a little bit of an update and explanation as to kind of what we're up to, our strategic priorities, how we got to our strategic priorities, and also provide an opportunity if there are any questions that folks have for us. So I've already been introduced. I'm Roger. I'm the new Lorraine, slightly less hair. I'm making it work. It's all good. Lorraine is better at driving. I get better at games.
The new Lorraine.
I've been in this role for almost a year now, which is great, and have really come to appreciate the community that we're working for, and have really appreciated the goals that our health center has kind of brought together. So I'll let Nate introduce himself, which I think. Okay, good. Thanks, Roger.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Nate Studner. I am a health scientist by training, and I've been working within the health administration, health delivery model for the last 35 years. We moved to Chester about 15 years ago. We have been involved with community-based programming and other boards of director. I just came off a 7-year term with the Church Memorial Park, serving as one of their board members at large, looking and writing grants and working on the 50-year anniversary back a few years ago, working on the recent renovations that are ongoing at the park. And my 7-year term was up, and so I moved off that, but it allowed me to focus more on this board, which I've been a member for 3 years now, and I'm looking forward to another 3-year term going forward.
Excellent.
Yeah, it really is the dedication of volunteers on our board, on the foundation board, and of our community volunteers that make OHC possible. I don't feel like I have to give a huge history on OHC because frankly, the folks in this room probably know better than I do. So I'm not going to bother wasting folks' time with that. But the big thing that we've kind of brought into play in the past year is the strategic priority, our public document that's up there. I also have some hard copies if you're looking for a hard copy as opposed to on screen. But the whole point of this document is basically guides everything that we're going to do. So it gives us our goals, our missions, our values, and really 3 key category zones that we want to focus on for the next 3 years. Anything that has to do with programming, any sort of funding that we're looking for, all fits in all of this plan. So the whole gist of it, if you want to boil it down, is that we have 3 really big priority goals. So I'm not going to go through the page. If you go down to page 4. With no respect to what our priorities that we have going on. So the first priority we have is that we're going to develop programs that focus on the social determinants of health and reduce barriers. So social determinants of health is not necessarily a term that everybody is familiar with and rolls off people's tongues. But basically all it is that there are things that have been identified, such as access to food, access to housing, gender roles, that sort of thing, that impact people's ability to actually get healthcare that they need. So we want to create programming that helps address this, so that folks don't have to end up getting into more severe chronic conditions. So a great example of this is we have an amazing partnership with the Growing Friends Collective. They do the community meals within Chester, they do musical program. And the community meals that they do help to bring food to folks who might not necessarily have access to it. So that's one way that we can help with health overall is by addressing issues before they become issues. The next strategic priority we have is increased access to health care in general. Obviously, we know the situation of healthcare in Nova Scotia right now. Currently, I checked before coming here, there are just over 1,400 people in the Chester region who are waiting for a family physician. So we are trying to help increase people's access so that folks can get the care that they need. So that looks a couple of different things. One is we work with Nova Scotia Health. They run the primary care clinic. They also do mental health and addictions, opioid clinic, continuing care and public health through our facilities. So we work very closely with them to make sure that they're able to provide the resources to our community. I feel like most folks are familiar with programs like the Same Day Clinic or the Thrive Mental Health Clinic. Both of these were born out of recognizing that even though Nova Scotia Health was doing basically the maximum they could, there was still a need for further support. So when we see things like that, we identify and then we create programming to hopefully address it and make it so that folks have better access to healthcare overall. This can also include some of the programs we're looking at running. So for example, one of the things that was identified was there is not great continuing care for women who have just given birth. Pelvic floor health is I want to say like a newer reality. It's not new at all, to be honest, but getting recognition, it's finally starting to get that is something that needs to be addressed. So we offered a program just recently for postpartum moms to do a pelvic floor rehab program. The key part about that, which ties back to our first strategic priority, is that we offer free childcare. We have young moms who have just had a baby. They can't go to a physio program unless they can have somebody help out with their young child. Some of these moms have 2 or 3 children under the age of 5. So because of the partnership that we developed with the physiotherapists and with Live Well and as well with the Forest School, we were able to create an all-encompassing program so that folks are actually able to get the healthcare they need and also get the social support they need. Our third major area for priority is the connections to community and making sure that we're raising public awareness. So if you don't know what's out there and you don't know what your options are, you're not going to be able to get to them. If you're not aware that at the age of 50, you should be receiving a fit test in the mail, and that is a very important test that you should be doing, then you're not going to. And then we're talking into health prevention, and if we aren't helping folks to access that before it becomes an issue, then people get sick. So to address this specifically, we're starting a new program this spring, which is going to be called Tips for Optimal Aging. Another board member of ours, Kelly McKnight, has been working quite fervently on the content of these workshops, but they're going to be geared towards health navigation. So we're gonna have a workshop, for example, for folks who are in their 70s. What do you need to know about your health in the 70s? Does anybody ever talk about what you're supposed to be looking for when you're in your 70s? So that's gonna be one example. Another example is great, you go to a doctor's appointment. Do you even know what you should be asking? And it sounds funny, but frankly, we have taught our population to access healthcare in one specific way, which is the doctor's gonna call you, tell you everything you need to do, and then you're gonna leave with a little piece of paper and go on your merry way. Unfortunately, that's not the system we have anymore. You have to be able to advocate for your health, and we feel it's really important to give folks the tools to be able to navigate for their health. If we're asking folks to become their own healthcare advocates, then we have to support that in their development. So those programs will be coming out a little later in the summer, in the spring, and you'll see some promotion around that starting up. So very much looking forward to that. So all that to show is that all of our programming and decisions are guided by this document. So the big question is, we have 3 things. How did you get to these 3 strategic priorities in the first place? Which is actually, we're going to ask Nate support because I wasn't here when it happened. So Nate absolutely knows more about that process.
Yeah, it's a good question. How did we get here? But you can see from Roger's quick, brief summary of who we are and what we are providing to the community at large, really going from young kids all the way up into, you know, the a decade of living. And so it's important to us to be able to maintain that connection throughout our entire community. To offer unique services to each cohort of people throughout their lifetime here. So yeah, the question is, how did we get here? Well, going back to 2020, while we were finalizing our mission and vision statements, we felt that there was a void that we really needed to drill down a bit more and really put together a comprehensive document that will allow us to sort of focus in on, you know, at the time we thought we would have a number of priorities. But the next step in this process was, okay, we have our mission, we have our vision statement. We need a set of guiding principles that would sort of work as a framework with our mission and vision statement that we could then put together a substantial document that we then called our strategic priorities. So we had various board meetings early on in 2021 going into 2022, where our board members would meet and discuss what a strategic priority document should look like. What are the points that we should be able to focus in on? How do we define these points? So a member of our team works within the municipality, and we took the municipality strategic priority and objectives and sort of used that as a framework to build our document from. So over the 2021 to 2022 document, we built a general framework, which we through subsequent meetings, fine-tuned and built upon it. And then from that framework, we then developed what we thought was our roadmap in terms of, okay, we're going to focus in on what are the top 3 priorities. And as Roger has said, generally what our priorities are and what we're focusing in on, we really needed to put more meat on the bone, so to speak. And so over towards the latter half of 2022 and through 2023, we met several times again, and we finalized our document that we reached consensus among the board that this is what we should be proud of. This is a document that we will publish and distribute to the community, but also other health centers within Nova Scotia to help them looking at what a strategic priority document would look like. What we focus in on may not be the same as another local health center. It serves our purpose. These priorities were built upon what the community was asking us to do. Can you provide postpartum depression seminars? Can you look at teenage depression, drug addiction, and various other programs that Roger explained? And so by the fall of 2023, which about 6 months ago, we then were very happy with our finalized product that we are now promoting within the community. So that almost 2.5 years of meetings, that is basically how we arrived at our strategic plan in 2 minutes or less.
Great.
Congratulations. Well done.
They did an excellent job planning it out. And I feel like it's probably making it sound like it was really easy, but I know from my experience with strat planning, it's not. And it really, again, speaks to the dedication that our board has for not just for the OHC, but also wanting to make sure that the OHC is applicable and working with the community and meeting the needs of the community.
How many members of the board do you have?
Currently, there are 9 and then 1 ex officio. So we have Thelma Costello, who is our past chair, is still involved. I've been a past chair.
Maybe Roger, you could explain a bit about the foundation and the board, just I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. So the OHC, the healthcare center itself is run by the OHC Association. So there's no association, and then there's the foundation. So the foundation is our fundraising arm. They take care of things like the golf tournaments, their Harvest Jam, those sort of events. but they're not directly involved with day-to-day operations, and they do support us through financial, support. And also they're great folks to bounce ideas off of, they also have great community connections, and so, you know, we're always willing to help out. But in terms of the day-to-day operation, that's through the association. Which is actually, very, it can be a little confusing.
So the foundation is the money arm
Essentially, yes.
and they divvy it up. Or, well. They
They
give
give
it
it all
to
to us.
you.
They give it to us.
Yeah.
And I was thinking Randy's our numbers guy. Randy's a retired pharmacist. He loves numbers. I don't know if you have any of the stats, but I find that really interesting. Like, how many visits do we have? Do you know some of those numbers?
Yeah, actually.
Just on one of these pages.
That's actually a little bit outdated now, so that is the one that we published last year with this, we actually just crossed the threshold and had over 20,000 visits now on the same day clinic alone. So we are seeing an increased number on that, I can't comment on the numbers for primary care, because that's under, health information.
Yeah.
20,000,
Yeah, so we've seen 20,000 folks since the walking clinic opened. On average, we'll see anywhere between 12 to 20 folks in the evening for the walking clinic. The most interesting stat that I've kind of latched onto since starting is how many phone calls we get. How many phone calls we get, people trying to access services. So for example, tonight before I left, the queue was open, we have a clinic tonight, Darren's opening the phones and answering and booking, and by the time we booked up I think tonight we had 20 spots because we had Dr. Batty in, there were still 35 calls.
Oh, my.
So unfortunately, there's still a very large need that needs to be met. We are trying our best to address it. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, capacity is capacity. But that's one thing I found fascinating is how many phone calls are actually coming through. On that, does anybody have questions about how the queue works? Because I know that's a very common one. How do you get an appointment at the same day clinic?
You don't live here.
Have a fast finger.
No, but I was going to it. 'cause
If it's like any other
I
queue,
just started going to Mountains.
If I can give one piece of advice on that, once you get into the queue, do not hang up.
I learned that. Hard way.
yeah.
But to your credit, I feel like downstairs, there seems to be a lot of action going on, and I got a call, and
Fantastic.
people I know are getting calls that have been on the list for quite some time, so.
And sorry.
No, I'm done.
We're done. I also applaud the continuation of the blood clinic. That has been a major improvement in this town. Having had to go to Bridgewater or Lunenburg during the pandemic, I have to get regular blood tests, and man, the difference in the hassle that it is was amazing, and I've known that since the beginning. Where, you know, it's certainly almost alone, the OHC has been worth it just for that. Because there are a lot of people who have to have tests done, and there was nowhere before. I mean, you know, even your doctor wasn't equipped to handle that kind of stuff. And man, oh man, I just have to say, I have to congratulate OHC on bringing that back up again after the pandemic. And, you know, getting the girls in there taking blood again, I'm telling you, and I've heard that from other people, it's not just a personal.
Give his name to the foundation, will you?
Can I just sort of expand upon that? I mean, that's an important comment to hear from us, but you know, at the end of the day, it was out of our control. The blood collection unit
Yeah.
operates under the umbrella of NSH.
Yeah,
And so with COVID and the restrictions, we were ready to go and people were calling us and telling us, when is the clinic gonna open? And until such time, I forget the date, that NSH said, okay, you can open up the clinic. It was just swamped. And I agree with you, it's a lot less of a hassle to have your collection done here. There's no stress in parking and driving.
oh yeah,
Cost of parking, waiting in a large hospital versus a small, central reception area is a world of difference.
I only brought the pandemic closure up to illustrate just how much difference that thing makes
Yeah.
to this community and the surrounding communities, eh? Because I understand you guys had no control over the actual mechanics of this particular situation, but I have had a lot of people, well, I mean, while I'm sitting there waiting to go in, I usually see somebody I know. And everybody say, oh, God, we're happy to have this thing back again now. That's dissipated somewhat, but because it's been a while. But I don't think anyone blamed, well, some people may have blamed the clinic for that. But most of us in the know, especially people in the healthcare field, understood that wasn't your decision, that was the decision of the bureaucracy made at the time, you know. Anyway, just a personal kind of recommendation, if you will.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both very much for taking time out of your evening to come and visit us.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And you want your checks made out to the OHC Foundation? All right.
There's an envelope of cash.
That used to be a safe room.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. This was the
Thank
municipal office
Thank you.
years ago, and that's where the safe comes from.
Oh, that's the first thing that's like, I don't know why I did that right away.
I had friends who lived in here when it was an apartment. And they had the safe in their apartment. It was so cool, because they left the door open all the time. You could go in and look and stuff.
I often wondered if someone would ever get locked in there.
Yeah, I don't know who knows the combination. If
Thanks,
anyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, folks.
Doing a great
Do
job.
you want actual hard copy or are you happy? with
No,
that?
we had photocopies made, yeah.
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You can
Bye-bye.
leave a
Take care.
couple at the front though, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure,
Yeah.
please.
If anybody's interested in looking at them.
On the desk.
yeah, because theirs are pretty and theirs are in color.
Yes. Ours is
Yeah, well, this
delightful.
is just photocopies, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. There's nobody online, is there, who wants
Say anything
to speak?
other than,
All right.
yeah, there's no one in the public gallery.
May I have a motion then to approve the agenda if there are no additions?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Randy. Second. Thank you, Gloria, Geraldine, not Gloria. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. 4.1, review of the minutes of Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. Are there any changes requested?
Didn't find anything.
No. I would move that we approve the minutes of February 21st, 2004 as stated.
2024?
February 21st,
And
2004.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Randy. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Carried, unanimous. Business arising. 2024-25
Oh,
draft
budget.
budgets. Okay, all right, Heather.
So you have version 6, version 5 is the one that had been circulated, but there was just a change made on page 3 to down near the bottom to streetlights power. Because we,
Three.
yeah.
But
Page 3 of the
it
budget,
says
sorry.
schedule 5.1, it doesn't say schedule 7.
Excuse
I
me.
just gave, use that one.
Okay,
That was the change that I was making right before we came in today.
got
V6, right? We're looking at.
V6.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're on page 3? Did you
Just
say-
jumping ahead to show where the change was.
Yeah,
Page
page
3
3.
down near the bottom,
Oh,
Should be
line item
blue.
5501, it's in blue, yeah, just to show that. That's been
Wow.
bumped up.
That-
significantly.
that is
I
a-
know, that's what
yeah.
I said, you know.
holy mackerel.
Yeah,
So where
That's a
did you
real
find
hard
where
starter.
did you find the extra money to make it all come out good?
so what I had done was that, anything that was not already accounted for was, parked on page 4,
mhm.
under the, general government
Ah,
operating reserve
Okay.
deposit. Although that amount is always TVA until we get to
Yeah,
the end of the
yeah.
fiscal, but just
That's
so
where
that
it
we have a
came
balanced
Yeah.
budget. So if you go back to page 1, it just shows our 3 budgets, so our operations budget, it shows our revenue and our spend. The capital budget which is all coming from grants that we already received for the work on the Lido and from reserve funds and that spend, and then the EHS budget and spend, and that is mostly, all of the funds around the EHS come from the building income only. There are no public funds
Yeah.
on that.
Well done, Heather.
Yes, nicely worked. I wondered where you found the extra, the money there. It still seems nicely balanced all together.
And it did also have, since we met about it last month, I've updated the year to date.
Yeah, to in
all
February.
To the end of February, so that's pretty near the end now.
There's one more month to go.
One month to
And just
go.
less than that.
So any questions about the
Oh, I think
operating
we should
budget?
pass.
We've got 10
I
days.
mean, I know
left,
we've
haven't
gone through this
Yeah, we should just.
We have
pass
gone through
it.
this. in a lot of detail already, and so, you know,
The only thing I saw was that thing about is the tower being
For the revenue,
brought up
yeah.
to date. That was, everything else looked good to
Was
me.
that supposed to have a certain amount increase every
Yeah.
year?
But apparently there was an issue with having charged them HST and they're
So they're pay-
recouping
we're-
that.
They're paying, we're
Yes, they
paying
should.
them back.
Yeah,
essentially?
they're recouping it by keeping the rent
Are
the
we
same.
getting any documentation to show when we come even?
that's what I have to call them about now.
Okay.
But what I did do is show what. I did put the increase in revenue, which is quite small, but it's a small increase in revenue.
It just seems like at some point we must have
We
paid
must
them
have by now.
back.
I would
It's
say,
the
yeah.
same
If it was
rate
just
for
HST, it shouldn't
quite
be
some
that much.
years.
Yeah.
So,
And cell phone bills are not going down, are they?
Oh, no, they're not.
no,
Now the calls dropped.
Oh, yeah, you have a lot of trouble with that?
I'll talk about that a little bit in my report.
Okay.
So can we pass this thing or what? Do we need to
Don't we
look
have
at
wait
it
till the
anymore?
end of the Fiscal year or not?
No,
We're just
no,
budgeting now,
it's the
yeah.
budget, you can pass it tonight.
So this is the dreamer, the dream and the scheme is it?
Well, we hope it's as accurate as we can.
This is version 6, so I mean, what more are we gonna do, right?
Well,
I would say
Let's,
if this budget were to be passed tonight, that would be a record for the village commission.
Does anyone see anything? I don't see anything where we've been out of whack on any
I
of this.
think Heather has done a superb
Amazing,
job.
amazing work.
Thank you.
And I love the colors.
I will keep that going
When
forward.
you change something,
That
it's
green,
blue,
love
right?
Yeah,
So I don't
you
have
can
to mess
find it,
around.
yes.
And the notes, of course.
And I do love the green column.
Oh, Heather,
Yes,
I guess we don't have any contingency with regard to the general government, reserve of $1,100 or whatever it is
Much.
for any future park negotiations.
well, that figure could change depending on where we net out at the end of the fiscal year,
Yes, that's
once the
true.
audit's been done, so it may be a little better.
So
than
there
that,
is a
but
little wiggle room there.
Potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me it's always a.
Although
way
if
better
there is a
wiggle room.
surplus, as we know, it goes into the operations reserve,
Yeah.
but we can always tap into that.
Yeah.
If the commission chooses to participate in that.
Okay, good. Well, gentlemen, ladies. What is your wish?
I would make a motion, if everybody agrees, to accept the draft budget as our budget for the 24-25 year as written.
Well done. Thank you, Randy.
Anyone
A
second?
second?
I rely on Randy absolutely, so I'll second his motion.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. All those in favor?
Aye,
Carried.
All right,
unanimously.
this is our official
thank you,
budget.
Heather.
And
Great
this gives
job.
us at the same tax rate we've had for quite some.
Yes,
Yeah.
077, right? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather. That
Good
was
work.
lovely work.
Good
Well
work.
done.
It's always a bitch to me.
Now, we're on page 22 of your package, which is 5.2 tax exemption for
Oh.
not-for-profit organization applications.
I do have an update for that as well that I've circulated. I'll just repeat for the record that, one of the properties had been listed as commercial exempt, and I had understood that that meant that village tax was not being charged that property, but that's incorrect. I confirmed that with, the municipal finance department this morning, so. I've just-
Which property is
That
it?
was
What's the
the
last one there?
train station or something?
The very
Yeah.
final one on the bottom.
20 Smith Road.
Yeah, the one that's marked as exempt. We do still, so this chart shows.
The difference
What
when,
we, it shows what we currently, oops. It shows what we currently charge them, and what they currently pay, I should say, in village general government tax. Fire rate is not involved.
it went from like 960 something to 1100, I think.
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
change.
it's just adding
If
that,
we were gonna forgive it
So
all.
that item. of
This one is
93.
incorrect.
Correct, yeah,
Okay,
this is the right one.
Yeah, it has the
It says
commercial.
revised at the top.
okay.
Okay, so
This is
we have the issue, the background. The rate of 7.77 cents per $100 of assessment, and we have some options presented. We have room in our revenue section of the budget to grant a full exemption or a partial exemption. May I have a motion, please, for discussion?
I would like to move that we offer them a 100% exemption of the amount of $1,114.30.
Thank you, Geraldine. Second.
I second that.
Thank you, Laura. Discussion?
I am, since I made the motion, I guess I could speak first.
I guess you can.
I am a little bit concerned about the stability of the organization. Nevertheless, I do feel that there's a sense that they're trying their best, although one it tends to be a wee bit skeptical. But I think this is one thing that we can do right now to do our bit for them
Well-
while they're working their way through this difficulty.
Thank you. I think that's well said.
And we can point to that as, look, we're trying to help out the situation when discussions are being done around this sort of
Excellent.
thing. And what's 200 more bucks? I mean, you know,
So Geraldine, what was the total?
It's $1,114.30. And that is from the revised figure distributed by our senior staff. Ms. Heather,
Thank you.
that leaves us quite a condition, quite a cushion from $5,000 or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
To
we
make
still
right
have-
with
we
other
still have
things,
it.
yeah.
Yes.
Currently, the amount that we have budgeted to cover, nonprofit organization tax exemptions, the 3 organizations that we currently give relief to are well encompassed in that. If we have
Yeah.
further applications, we'll address that.
Question than $4,000.
okay, excellent.
I think it would be interesting perhaps to find out what the total tax burden is on OHC.
Well, there's the principal amount of their taxes probably with MODC, is it not?
Well, that's the one that MODC charges 69.5 cents,
Yeah.
which I don't know whether they will increase that rate this year or not.
Yeah.
But, and our rate is 7.77 cents. I think it would be, last year we gave them 50% exemption. I wonder if we could or should consider increasing that. Just for thought. All right, thank you very much. So
Did we vote?
we have,
Wait,
no,
wait,
no, we haven't voted. Thank you very much. So we have a motion, we have a seconder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to page 45, which is the meetings and procedures policy. Revamp. Another excellent job. Heather? Would you care to speak with that, to that?
I'm just gonna jump ahead to it.
What page?
45.
Yeah,
Thank you.
a lot of this historical stuff.
So most
Aye.
of this is the same version that we saw back in October. That, excuse me, that the commission decided at that time to approve in principle, but do a 3-month trial of moving from the second Wednesday to the third Wednesday and moving to 6 o'clock to see how that felt. And then coming back after that 3 months was up, which is now, to see whether they wanted to keep that in and go ahead and approve it. So the other, there is no other changes to it from the last version we saw.
Well, you added LCAC and CFSC as committees.
Reports.
On page 46.
What's in red?
What is LCAC?
Lunenburg County Accessibility.
Oh, okay.
That's me.
The other one's the fire committee, obviously.
yeah.
But they weren't there before, were they?
That's correct, I did add that, so that's in the.
Well, yeah,
All the
but
red was in before.
Yes.
and
Well done, Eagle Eye.
No,
That
she
purple
highlighted it. I
highlight.
never would have got it otherwise.
That purple highlight was just to say.
Yeah, I know, it was
I got
perfect.
specific, so,
Attracted
but
people.
otherwise
like me.
it should be identical.
Let me ask the commission. How are you finding the change from the second Wednesday to the third Wednesday? And the hour from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock?
Now that my calendar agrees with you, it's fine. But my calendar and my phone does get naughty sometimes.
Laura, what do you think?
It's fine.
It's
A way
6 o'clock
she is
too
the
early
next
for you?
week. I always seem a bit rushed,
Yeah.
but at the other end, I kind of like it, not
Yeah.
getting home at 9.
I prefer 6, because I'm a late eater anyway, so when we started at 7, I wasn't getting my supper until 9, which is.
And while it wasn't originally my favorite because of supper time, I'm perfectly fine with it now.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, I do find it helpful. It's one of the reasons we had brought it up was to give me a little time for financial reconciliations.
Yes,
So moving the week definitely has made that easier to accomplish in time. And it also gives me a week of breathing room between the fire committee meeting
Yeah.
and this one.
And you get home an hour earlier.
That too, that's not a small thing.
that seemed to.
Great, good. So there you have it. Are we prepared to make this policy? Yes, Geraldine,
I'm the shit disturber as usual.
disturb away.
Okay, in 2.0, under consensus, very clear definition. But I'm assuming that you are not suggesting that consensus means approval of expenditures.
No, expenditures that are outside of the budget that's already been approved do require a motion. If it's an item that's already been approved in the budget, then.
Well, budget usually is general approval as opposed to specific approval, so I don't like the idea of consensus. That the thought that if the group has a consensus about something, that it is given to mean that there's approval to expend. The expenditure needs a motion.
We can make sure that that always happens.
Do we need to clarify that?
I don't think so, that's. Really pretty common procedure anyway.
I know it's common
We would do
procedure.
that anyway, yes,
Um,
in most cases.
I would hope so, yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
I would suggest that
We could add a line. to that.
we delay the approval of this for 1 more month. For that change to be made.
Okay.
How would you word it?
I would remove. Just a suggestion. The definition consensus is a cooperative process alternative to a formal motion. I would remove. It's a I wouldn't, sorry. It is, keep in, consensus is a cooperative process alternative. And strike to a formal motion. I think that's the slippery edge of the
Yeah,
slope.
that's what was bothering me, because it reads as if you don't need a formal motion. You can, it reads as if you can expend funds
Mhm.
simply because everybody around the table says, oh, that's a good idea.
So,
would you like to approve it with
in
that,
principle,
with that strikeout? You could approve it with that amendment.
I would approve it as consensus is a cooperative process, period.
Then it doesn't have to be there. That's a dictionary definition.
Yeah. My concern is alternative to a formal motion. That's my
And you
concern.
don't need alternative if you've taken out the
That's right.
alternative to something.
okay,
And
I'm
I'm
happy with
perfectly
that.
willing to go forward with it, with that
Sure,
clarification.
well, I, whatever you guys want.
all right,
If
I'd
you wanna
like
pass it
a motion to approve in principle
With,
with that struck out.
I would make that motion.
Make it,
Excellent.
Well,
You're-
okay,
you're making it?
I would like to move that we approve the meetings and procedures policy as of draft amendments version 3, with the exception that we must strike out whatever part of consensus you want.
alternative to a formal motion.
Yeah, okay, fine, whatever you want to
Yeah.
put in there. And that I suggest we get this done, that we.
Okay, moved by Randy, seconded by,
I'll second that.
thank you, Geraldine, all those in favor? Any further discussion?
Good job, Heather.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Thank
we went through this with a fine tooth comb.
5.4. Heritage property signage and tour project. Over to you, Heather. Okay, so. Up on the screen. So again, we've looked at this one previously. So this also has a couple of changes that we were looking at, so this shows the quoted price now for the signposts, so again in blue. On the estimates column, very good stuff, this.
Yeah, we don't have the blue on this one.
No, it's.
Oh, right, of course.
Pale gray.
Oh,
Come on, Heather,
I
you've been
should've
killing
that
it all
color.
along.
Oh, no. That's what I get, I'm trying to save it.
Yeah, well,
So item under sign production, version 1, so that's the real estate type hanging signs. So 704 was design 1, the one arm drawing that you all saw. And the option is the squared off one, but I think your preference from the sounds of it was.
I think that was actually in the discussion at some point, I believe. Yeah.
So there's that, and the only other change in here. Is there anything else in here? No, I think that was it.
That's it.
Oh, the other change, sorry, there was a question about the printing of the sign itself. Whether that would be like have a color watch or just be black and white, it's the same price, so. That doesn't change anything there. So
Okay.
what that does do is bring our project total to this. Figure of 4,183. And what I've also attached is a draft letter to the property owners. To explain the project to them and ask their permission to install a sign on their property.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 signs we're looking at.
Correct.
so I assume we'll get permission before we. get-
Oh, yes.
Before we print, right, yeah.
This would be step 1.
Okay, good, all right.
Okay,
Yes, Geraldine.
we had talked about involving the Heritage Society, which I think maybe is no longer on
I
the
think they
table.
have enough on their plate.
I think so. Are we prepared to go forward with this? Because if we are, and we want to keep it in this fiscal year, we're skidding quickly on.
Oh, yes, it's this year, right, yeah.
If,
Laura, do you feel we should go forward with this?
Well, I was thinking that if we were going to give some money to lord the house at some point, you know, maybe, well, I don't know, was it $5,000 almost, but we're not giving any money in this budget. Nothing's gonna happen before March 31st for sure,
No,
and we pretty well have said we're not giving any money.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
we've given them indirectly.
Yes.
$1,100.
That's what it is.
Right.
Now, my experience in nonprofits, which is not necessarily the same since we're under the MGA. If we approve an order in this fiscal year, even if we expend in the next fiscal year, we can.
I believe so.
Yeah. I would like to say. Get approval from the accountants, and assuming that we can keep that expense in this fiscal year, then I'm willing to go forward with it.
I believe that if the motion is made this fiscal, the expense is this
I
fiscal.
think we need to order in this fiscal too. I'm not positive, but in my experience and other, see, because we're under the MGA, I'm not sure, under
We went
nonprofits.
through this
you-
with the purchase of the land,
Yeah,
the Windjammer, and it was a done deal. The intent was there
right.
in that fiscal, but the property never sold until July or August the following
But
year.
as long as we were recorded as intending,
Right,
okay. If I were you, Heather, though, I'd get the order in before the end of
yes,
the month.
that's the intention.
now,
Well, then you need the permission
Need to
in
get the
place.
permission very
first.
quickly.
yes,
Yeah,
and where is the, where does one place a QR code?
That would have to be something that was integrated into the design of the sign.
It's
So it
usually,
could just be down at the corner, down at the bottom.
it's usually at the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
And that
then
is
people can
not
just
an
have their phone.
additional expense?
No,
Okay, great. All
So,
right,
before
so,
we order, would we need permission, or do you think we can order without permission?
no, I think we need permission, I'm sorry.
yes.
Why order the stuff if you're not gonna be able to
we,
use it?
we could put in an order, and if somebody declines, we could pick another property or hold on to it for the next round of
Yes,
these.
yes.
Okay.
So that's possible.
I feel like none of these are gonna be fast to get back to us, because it's
No.
gonna be committees
Churches
and
and such.
charge and all.
No, none of them will be fast, but I also think none of them will say no.
You never know.
Yeah, you don't never know. Oh, double negative, goody.
So
So-
would we like to make
move
sure that
forward.
these are ordered at the end of this fiscal?
Well, at
Or
least,
park it
at least
until
order
next.
the signs,
Yeah.
The post.
yes, the post,
Okay.
and then that makes it clear. We've got the motion from tonight,
Mhm.
but the sign, the posts ordered, and it makes it clear it's our intention that it's this fiscal year expense.
Okay,
But check with the accountants too, okay?
so did I hear a motion to proceed with the ordering of the signpost?
So moved.
I'll
Thank you,
second
Geraldine.
that.
Second, Randy, thank you. All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
I would like to make a further motion that we approve the project in its entirety, including the signs, although we have already moved that we will order the posts, so that it's in the minutes that we have approved the project in its entirety.
Thank you, Geraldine.
Good idea.
You want to
Seconded.
second it?
I will second that.
Thank
All
you.
right, seconded by Randy.
I have
All those in favor?
Aye.
2 out of 4.
Oh, we need
carried.
hands.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
Ah, well done.
Okay.
Correspondence.
We've already read this baby.
We
Now,
have 3
Randy,
letters.
Is it, would it be possible that we? would
I'm
also-
sorry, I'm sorry.
Should we actually? Or do we don't want this?
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying where she is. I don't know. I'm not sure
Yes, go.
whether it's a good idea.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
And
Go,
talk
go,
to
go.
Andrea.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a bit of a sticky
Oh,
wicket here.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
let's
part,
not have
that-
that conversation.
Oh, okay. Well, in that
It's too
case, we'll wait. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I was hoping that we could clarify this stuff, but apparently it's not a
We
good.
do have this letter and we have proceeded to get advice on it and. With your permission, we would, I would write a response to the resident once we have that.
The legal response.
Oh, we haven't completely finished our legal responses as yet? Okay, in that file.
Okay, darn.
And the next item is the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities communication with regard to climate resilient coastal communities.
Did this come in
Questions?
before the recent brouhaha?
I would say yes,
This
it's
is
February
the-
26th.
Yeah.
And around March the 10th or whatever, that,
Oh, yes, February 23rd.
Yeah, this describes the brouhaha, I think, pretty well, yeah.
This is for information, but
We can-
NSFM's president. Indicating the municipality's general disappointment.
Dissatisfied, yeah.
Not proclaiming the act.
and this was also discussed at the Village Planning Advisory Committee meeting.
So that will impact the land use bylaw that they're currently drafting.
It's going to impact so much.
Lot of stuff.
Yeah. Any questions on this communication?
Are they looking for support or?
It was just an advisory.
It's information.
So, may I suggest that item 6.1. The ownership letter be referred to our lawyer for further discussion.
Thank
And
you.
6.2, be accepted as information.
Excellent.
Thank you. Heather.
Okay. Okay, so, my activity report. Budgets, most of my time this past month continued to be focused on the 24-25 draft village budget and the 24-25 draft fire budget, including costing and contracting for the various capital and operations projects. For example, new cleaning services begin next week at both the office and fire station, and contract renewals for IT and maintenance are in progress. CFSC, that is the Chester Fire Services Committee. Other than clerking duties to the committee, I've been supporting David Robert, one of the members, with managing the consultants on the pre-design of the fire station. We're working on a potential solution to get a lot more road access, and I'm sourcing surveyors, which actually that's been completed. Another key project is developing a report for municipal council for direction on fireboat services with Jim Barkhouse and the volunteer fire department's boat committee. Training and meetings. I attended a short online workshop on digital accessibility held by the International Association of Business Communicators, which was interesting to see the private sector approach. That's another group I stay in touch with. Lunenburg and Queens County's communications staff met earlier in the month to share concerns and practices. I attended a short NSFM set webinar on new preferred home and auto insurance program for elected officials and staff. I have information if anyone is interested. I met with MODC's new economic development team to discuss possible mutual project support. It's early days, but it sounds like there's a few things cooking. South Shore AMA's bi-monthly meeting was last week. The Nova Scotia Department of Environment presented on the new future of Nova Scotia's coastline plan, which was just referred to in the previous correspondence. And that is replacing the unproclaimed Coastal Protection Act. So they had a presentation about what that involves, which involves municipalities and landowners more than the previous plan. Build Nova Scotia presented on their province-wide cellular access program. One point raised was areas like the village of Chester that will show in the gap analysis that they've conducted as having cellular service, but that service is not as robust as it once was. Even the MLA commented on that on Facebook today, that
I remember
doesn't-
pressure.
she doesn't have coverage at her desk. so
From
she's
Danielle?
often out at the-
Yeah.
Yes, she's often out in the parking lot.
No coverage at the yacht club either.
So the explanation that they had is the problem appears to be overloading of the current infrastructure. Because much larger phone data packages now than even a couple of years ago. I know mine is huge in comparison. And that allows more streaming, so that just puts more load on the infrastructure that's currently there. So that's something they'll be looking at as well. Yes.
Heather, 5G
Mhm.
boxes
Mhm.
located in the village
Mhm.
would not resolve that issue?
It's really up to Build Nova Scotia to figure out how they're gonna address this, but they are considering. Excuse me, not that I want to speak for them, but from what they were saying at the meeting, they're looking at making sure that areas with no coverage get coverage, and that areas where the quality has dropped are flagged as well for new infrastructure. They're going to be building some new infrastructure and inviting carriers to then put equipment on it, so it
Okay,
makes it a little easier.
the reason I ask is the village commission was approached 5 years ago
Mhm.
or thereabouts. By Bell, I believe it was. To put boxes, the 5G boxes on utility poles. And we all went, oh, can't do that, we'll all get brain cancer. Wish they
Seriously,
would.
does somebody still?
And
There is no sign, just.
There's no
There's no
science at all.
scientific background for such.
that's what we were convinced was
Yeah.
going to happen.
And 5G is not a panacea, really.
Tell them to bring
Okay.
us some
5G is
5G boxes.
extremely localized coverage, it's very
Yes.
short.
Yes,
And even in,
Was
like in
kind
New
of a
York
re-
City and places like this, there's only certain neighborhoods that actually get any use out of
If
5G.
you've been exposed to radio signals,
Yeah.
it's the same.
But I'm talking about speed as well.
Mhm.
5G is, everybody's talking about it, oh, they are, Bell and these guys,
Mhm.
as a panacea. But it is very localized, like it's a really short range technology. You've got to have them all over the place
Mhm.
to actually get consistent speeds.
Outside of an urban area.
No, it's never gonna happen here.
Sorry for interrupting,
Yes.
Heather.
Hence Build Nova Scotia's involvement. Municipal Affairs always attends with their own report, although Andrea wasn't there last week. One of the colleagues took that on, and the forum allows information sharing among Lunenburg and Queens County staff. Hugely valuable meeting, I always really appreciate when we have one, it's bi-monthly. Municipality of the District of Chester Planning, the secondary planning strategy and village land use bylaw. The municipality is holding public presentations of the latest versions of the SPS and
Go.
ELUB next week. I've attached the poster. The commission and the public were invited to attend.
Oh, see.
So I'm just gonna scroll down here to show. So March 26th at 2:30 or March 28th at 6 o'clock.
This is MODC. right?
This is yeah, the village plan.
Hmm.
Excuse me, and Ferry Wharf, you'll recall that the Dalhousie students conducting the public consultation into possible new uses of the Tancook Island Ferry Wharf held a focus group with the commission. Also public meetings and the public survey, which closed this past Friday. That report will go to MODC, but also to the public, so you can see it.
That was a
When it
very
comes out.
interesting public presentation that they made at the Legion. And exciting. If it ever comes to pass.
This is the student group?
Yes.
Wow. And they must have been much different than what we saw.
Yeah, they
then.
were
No,
interesting
they
here.
were a little more relaxed and they had slideshows.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And it was just a
okay, yeah.
very good presentation.
I mean, it wasn't a bad presentation to us, but it didn't contain anything that blew me away particularly. We all discussed it afterwards and we thought some
Well,
of
they
their
didn't do
thoughts
a
were
presentation, they
unrealistic.
asked us what.
Yeah, I guess. And
We were a focus group. a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, basically, that's what we turned out.
And that's it for that report.
Thank you very much, Heather.
Thank you, Heather. I feel like we should clap.
Here, here.
Oh, wait, there's finance.
Yes, yes.
So next is my financial report.
Thanks.
Scotiabank, the February 2024 bank statement has been reconciled for the summary reports that you have attached there. We started the month with 852,736 in the bank and ended with 943. With the final, and most of that is the final outstanding HST rebate from 22-23 came in. And a refund on the village's vehicle insurance. You'll recall we had to pay for that upfront until
It was done.
to cover the gap with, when it moved over. Yeah, and of course, at this point in the fiscal year, none of the reserve deposits and things like that have been done. And
Okay, do you have the outstanding HST rebate amounts separated?
I do, that's part of what's sitting with Lawrence right now, because obviously this account still is a combination of village and fire assets.
Mhm.
So I've split everything, splitting out the HST was a lot of fun, so
I
for
bet.
all the purchases. Anyway, but
So
all
Lawrence will determine whether what you've done
is
is good.
correct,
Yeah,
yes, or if I've overlooked anything,
Yeah.
so that's where that's sitting, it's with him. And again, village and fire bank accounts, the calculations of funds that should be transferred to the Chester Fire Services bank accounts are with the auditor. My goal is to have this completed for year end. Please, Lawrence.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
get on it, pal, yeah.
He's a busy guy.
No.
I appreciate his help enormously.
It's tax season.
But it would be a shame, crying shame to carry it in.
Oh.
Yes, I desperately don't want to carry it into the next fiscal. 2024-25 budget preparation, the draft village budget was scheduled for consideration this evening. Note that 22-23 year-to-date column, which I said this when we went through, has been updated to the figures as of February 29th. And items like income tax relief provided and reserve deposits will come at year end. Some
Not,
of that information
not income tax.
tax
Tax
relief.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I said?
I'd love to get
Sorry.
it.
Oh my
I
God.
think something's on your mind.
Yes. And I actually have gotten a whole bunch of charts from the municipal finance office, so I've been working through those. So I'll be able to update you on that. The draft fire service budget was approved by the Chester Fire Services Committee on March 6th. And referred to the Village Commission, which is later on tonight's agenda, and to Municipal Council. And myself and Kirk Collicutt, who is the treasurer of the committee, will be presenting to council on the 28th that morning.
Excellent.
Workshops, February's GST HST session with the CRA was on audits and record keeping, which was very helpful. And March's was on cost sharing, which has applications in shared services that we do have with the municipality or the fire department.
Thank you.
Good job, Heather.
Finance.
So are we gonna accept or reject? It says the draft motion is the Chester Village Commission approves the Chester Volunteer Fire Department
It's
budget.
later
Coming up.
Oh,
We haven't hit
I
that.
thought that's where we were, okay.
No,
Not quite.
but this is just a summary.
So the bank reconciliations, excellent.
Oh, I.
So
think yes.
next is
Have you
our
recovered from the
20
Nova Scotia power thing yet?
That's gonna hurt.
Needed paddles.
Okay.
And I apologize, I actually inadvertently reversed who was presenting 7.3 and 7.4.
Oh, yes, the other way around, yeah.
Well. Duke it out. Who wants to go first?
I don't have anything to say, so I'll go first.
So there's been.
We had training sessions scheduled
Didn't-
twice and it didn't happen, but now we're rescheduled again. But we have been having our monthly meeting.
Oh.
Poor Ellen has trouble getting quorum. She's usually begging the day before the meeting for people to please come, but they're working hard.
Is there an in-person version or does
No.
everyone Zoom?
Well, the workshop is in person, so that'll be
No,
the first
no,
time.
but the actual
No, that's,
meetings.
no, that's by Zoom, and it pretty much has to be, I mean, it's geographically, it's spread around. And half the committee has disabilities of one sort or another, so it's harder for them to physically attend meetings.
Okay. The Chester Fire Services Committee. I would say, I don't know how many calls they had this month. Because they didn't write it down. And I would also say that the majority of calls are still medical. But thank goodness there hasn't been anything serious. I was written up in the Lighthouse blog, seen that? Smoke condition, Chair Nancy Hatch of the Village Commission. Oh, rats, I
I
don't
was
have it.
there, I didn't hear that.
Oh, no, it was in the Lighthouse Progress Bulletin.
Yeah, but what, I mean, I was at that meeting.
No, it wasn't at the meeting.
Oh,
Because
okay.
she had a fire in her. so
Oh,
smoke.
excuse me, yes, you
Yeah,
did mention
yeah,
that, yes, of course.
Sorry,
Don't have fires
that's my
again, Deb.
claim to fame.
No
On the
fires permitted.
newspaper. And that's my report. Thank you very much. Now let's have a discussion on this request for decision. The 24-25 CVFD budget approval. Read it and weep. Or read it and applaud. The choice is yours. I would suggest that approval would be the right move.
Well,
Not that I want to influence you.
I have full faith in our clerk treasurer and the members of the fire committee that they have reviewed this thoroughly. And that they are bringing it to our attention because they are satisfied with the budget.
Unfortunately, you all were actually
And we
attending
have-
the annual public
And we
meeting,
have
so you
been
saw the
involved,
presentation.
yeah.
And I was there the other evening, March 6th or whatever, at the regular meeting
Yeah.
where final discussions were taking place at the time. And I mean, all you have to do is look at that bar chart. Even with a 9-cent jobbie, we're still the lowest in the,
Yeah,
you know, we're still underneath the, who is it, Blandford, all places, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I think, may I have a motion then to approve the budget?
Yeah.
as
ready, go
adopted?
enthused.
I will make the motion
Thank
that
you.
the Chester Village Commission approve the 24-25 Chester Volunteer Fire Department draft budget at the 0.094 fire rate as presented.
Thank you very much,
I'll
Randy.
second that.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
I'll
Laura.
do it on the second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Thing we don't.
And the final request, oh, no, it's not, I have to turn the page. 8.2, a request for decision for the audit annual public meeting and election dates for 2024.
So I had,
76.
I had connected with all of you and the auditor and the citizen member to check on the dates, as you'll recall.
Yes.
And these dates seem to work for everyone, but we should still have a motion to set them.
Quickly.
So, audit committee dates, the audit committee policy requires at least twice each fiscal year, so we're looking at Monday, April 22nd at 2 p.m. and Thursday, June 13th at 2 p.m. For the annual public meeting, the MGA requires this to be held on or before the first day of July. Recommended date is Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30. And then the annual commission election, the MGA and the village's elections bylaw requires to be held within 1 week following the annual meeting. the recommended date would be then Tuesday, June 25th, with the advanced poll on Saturday, June 22nd.
I would like to move what you just said.
So move.
To approve all the
Aye.
suggested dates?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I'll
Second.
second the motion.
Thank you, Randy. All those in favor?
All right.
Carry.
And thank you for checking on to proxy voting, which
Yes.
was me that requested that. I'll be camping when all this stuff takes place.
Yes.
I'll be
And
in
I-
Kedgy, so I
did
won't be
check
able to vote.
that, and I did check it with our solicitor, and to confirm that, yes, that is permitted, so we'll make sure.
What do
that
you do,
we-
a written vote?
Do we have a
or-
form?
Yeah, there's a form.
Is it already
It's
available?
already available,
Okay.
it's part of the MGA, it's part of
Yeah.
the Elections Act forms. So I do have those, and I'll make those available and make sure that we publicize.
Yes, the fact that
To
it can be
residents that
done.
that can be
Yeah.
done, because
That was
this is
under,
time
an
people travel.
that was under an omnibus provision that MGA this, MGA that, MGA that, and that, and that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't specifically stated in the policy, but
Mhm.
but
it was
says
there.
these-
Cited.
yeah,
Are
cited is
applicable.
the word I was looking
Because
for.
the Elections Act doesn't cover villages, but our bylaw says these.
Yeah, all
parts of the
these
Elections Act
MGA
apply.
things, they're covered, yeah.
Section 9, item 9, Commissioner Roundtable. Does anybody have anything else that they haven't already voiced? Ed?
I just have one question going back, is who are the two up for election?
Me and
You-
Nancy.
Oh, okay.
And
Chair and
the-
vice chair, no pressure.
Yes, could be.
And the nomination date,
Oh,
or the
yeah.
date, last date for nominations
Yeah,
is,
I'll check the bylaw, I can't recall off the top of my head.
neither can I.
I have to
It's
do
the
a
most
little work back schedule for.
convoluted bylaw imaginable.
Yeah, I don't know. how it Became the way, it- I, over the years, people just added clauses and stuff.
Actually, I might have it on my calendar.
There, but there is a limit on the date. I forget what.
Calendar.
Something about.
Seems to me it has to be 2 weeks before the election. date
And
or something.
nominations have to be officially deemed to close. You have to put that
Yeah.
on the website and all that sort of thing. I remember when we
I
got
just leave that
elected,
up
there
to
was
Heather
this
and she'll tell us.
thing, yeah, right. I'm
Yeah, you
not
had
too
to
worried.
find
about-
5 people in the village, which wasn't so easy.
Yeah,
No,
well, I had
Big
Carol's
nomination.
family.
Oh.
Yes, do we have 5
Nancy.
people who will sign our papers?
I think it was Nancy and all the rest were Carol's family.
While you're looking up, so my only little round table is that, so my CBC piece, which wasn't excited, so I did talk about the fairy guide. So I
Yeah,
really enjoyed that, and I had a long chat with him, cause he said, oh, let me know if you're gonna be on the radio, Michael Buckley, he was on the
Yeah.
committee. And they only had about, so if they were pleased with the turnout, and the afternoon one where you were there, Nancy, there was about 20 people, and in the evening one, there was about 10, 12 people. But they had different questions.
Mhm.
And then we were talking, he said the thing that we missed and we didn't realize it, because he said, what do people think about it? And I'm like, most people in Chester don't give much of a hoot,
Is it the
really.
moving of the?
Yeah,
fair?
well, not the moving of the ferry, what would happen with the wharf, and
Yeah,
our people
okay,
wound up, I
okay.
mean, it doesn't affect us all that much.
Mhm.
And they didn't talk, he said, we should have talked more to the Tancook folks.
yeah.
And he said that was, but we didn't, they didn't know how it all worked, so it was kind of interesting, but he was really helpful. And I'm pretty sure he didn't wake up at 6:50 in the morning, so, anyway, so that was that.
Oh, that was your last radio.
That was my
Oh,
last
was
radio.
that? I didn't. know.
I wasn't that good.
Oh.
But
I
most
look
days
for-
are bad.
I look forward to your MP3s of that.
Very high, yeah.
I like her little essays on Facebook.
I just
Thank
like
you,
your
Laura.
voice. You have a great voice for telling stories on the radio. It's
Our
great.
commissioner out and about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Community contact.
Now, Heather, we have here, item 10 is in camera. We have
If required, but
concluded.
we did have a special meeting prior to this.
So we don't need any more, I wouldn't think, yeah.
Yeah.
That was more, well, it's a standing item.
Yeah, we
Number
always
one.
have.
Number
Yeah.
2 was in case we hadn't finished.
Oh, I see. We could have gone back in. Yeah.
Well, thus end of the meeting.
I move we adjourn.
All right,
Well
go
done.
ahead and move.
I just did.
That's it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. Great
Yes.
job.
Nicely done on all the big stuff,
Absolutely.
as
And
usual.
don't get a fat head.
Yeah, that's right.
I would never.
We'll
And,
do it the next time.
Would you hang back for a minute, please?
Oh.